We are back tackling another exciting announcement of a game that I was not expecting to be excited for actually at all. That is Guardians of the Galaxy by Eidos Montreal from Square Enix. Now, looking at this game from the outside, we were obviously told, going in that this was going to be a more single-player focused game than something like Marvel's Avengers. But after that came out, and with all the issues it has had, whether you're a fan of it or not, personally, I was not expecting to be excited for this. But I really am. So before we hop into the news, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. I appreciate you very much. We've had a rough couple of months with views and stuff like that. YouTube has been kind of crazy, so appreciate you and your continued support. With Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a lot going on. Now, there's a few things to just tackle right off the bat that I think might disappoint some people. You play as Peter Quill. You play as Star-Lord. So I think that the very first, very easy thing to do is to kind of get frustrated with this as a Guardians fan, maybe either of the movies, the comics, anything like that, and say, well, this is a Star-Lord game. This is not a Guardians of the Galaxy game. However, I do want to kind of push back on that a little bit because even though you play as Star-Lord, I was going to say Star Wars, holy cow, you have a wide variety of moves at your disposal that we see throughout the trailer, using your rocket boots, dashing around, shooting. There's a lot of different melee abilities in here as well, and you see a progression system, which we don't get to see a very close breakdown of in these trailers and breakdowns, but you do see after encounters that Star-Lord, Peter, he is leveling up over time, which obviously would lead to unlocking new things, new abilities, things like that, which sort of leans into this single-player action RPG style. Now, they did say that this is focused on being a single-player action game. This is not a games-as-a-service experience like Marvel's Avengers is and continues to be. This is a single-player game based on story, based on exploring sprawling worlds in the Marvel Universe. Even though you are playing as Star-Lord, you are making direct decisions in this game that impact the story of the Guardians and also impact the Guardians themselves and your team dynamics. So we see a couple of different examples of this in the trailer, in the breakdown, and in the gameplay, where you're actually heading to Lady Hellbender's castle in order to try and sell off either Rocket or Groot to get out of debt so that they can afford to keep their ship. Now, in order to do this, you actually get to decide who you're selling off, and you get to decide later on again if you made the right decision, and that affects team dynamics and how happy or upset people are with you. So I'm not sure to what extent that actually will affect the story when we get into it, further, because a lot of games have issues with these decision-based, mechanics, trying to make them matter. But it does look like there is interesting and unique dialogue at the very least, depending on what you pick. It's also worth noting that you directly make these decisions that will affect how the team looks at you as well. Now, we don't know to what extent that impacts the story later on, if it only impacts certain scenes that you are in, or if it impacts those scenes following that later on in the story, because we haven't seen enough of the game yet. But we do know that things like a decision to let Drax throw Rocket across a gap to open a bridge, or defending Rocket and saying we can find another way, will affect how Rocket feels in that moment towards you. Do we know if it will affect later on how Rocket feels towards you? Not fully yet. I think it's very easy to say that it would or wouldn't, but we don't fully know that yet. I'm just excited to see how there's these unique interactions over the course of the game, and that actually would lend to replayability. Are you going to be an absolute dick? Like, are you going to just be a really douchey leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy that does anything that gets you ahead and you don't care about the team? Or are you going to prioritize certain members? Or are you going to try to be fair to everybody? I think that that's very interesting in terms of decision making, and it makes this feel a lot more like a role-playing game. You are the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And from what they talked about in the deep dive, that is what they're going for here. We also know that there will be a wide variety of different enemy types, especially as you visit other planets and areas in the universe, because these are the Guardians of the Galaxy. This leans more into Marvel's cosmic side, something we've seen in the movies with things like, obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy, and we're going to get eventually in the Eternals and a lot of other things, right? This more cosmic side of the universe. But it's not based on the MCU. And that's another big thing worth mentioning. This is based on just the general Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think you can come in and look at the designs, which are clearly a morph, I guess, of the comics and the MCU, especially someone like Gamora, who looks much more like her comics version, whereas Drax looks like a mixture and Star-Lord leans a little bit more towards MCU. You can come in here and say, well, maybe these are just based off the comics, or maybe these are just based off the MCU, but with some comic inspiration. But Eidos Montreal actually went into this. This is their own version of the Guardians of the Galaxy. This is their own version of these characters unique to this game in its own continuity. Now, we don't know if eventually this will connect to anything else in continuity, whether it be connecting to Avengers in that world, right? Or canon, their game, or connecting to something else like what Insomniac's doing with Spider-Man, which we had thought would connect to Avengers for a while. We don't actually know if they're ever going to do anything like that. Personally, opinion time, I think it's a little bit of a wasted opportunity to make the MCU so expansive, but then split up all the games, but I digress. This does allow them to have a lot more creative freedom and control. So if you are going in to play the Guardians of the Galaxy, and you're not too concerned about what does this connect to, what is this a part of, all those things, and you're enjoying this as a Guardians of the Galaxy video game, right, which I think is why this was made, you're going to love this. That is what it seems like to me, especially from the controls, how we see it play, what it's inspired by, and the heart of it. Because, you know, at the end of the day, as someone who taught English in school, as someone who really likes storytelling, right? I love storytelling. This does appear to have very fluid dialogue. This appears to be about a team of characters who, as they said in the deep dive, are underdogs. They are a team that you're like, how would that team ever work? How do these people even get along? There's a lot of banter, a lot of back and forth, and a lot of issues between the different teammates that make them seem like imperfect and real people from what we saw in the trailer, which is one of the things that makes me most excited about this, is feeling like I'm actually in control of a group of real people. And believe it or not, that's something that I think I've missed in gaming for a long time, something I haven't felt that much since some of the earlier Star Wars RPGs and games like Star Wars Republic Commando, where you're taking control of a team of people. Games like XCOM have done a great job of that as well. So if they are able to master that like they said that they are trying to do, this could be a brilliant experience. And to quote Oliver Prowl, which I hope I pronounced his name right, Eidos Montreal senior producer, you're always at the center of this band of misfits, and through narrative, you get to banter, you get to make a lot of quick decisions. The team is very unpredictable. The other characters are also autonomous, which is really interesting because as Star-Lord, you're calling on their ability in combat against enemies, and they can be fighting on their own autonomously very well. You don't necessarily expect the reaction you're going to get, and then you, as Star-Lord, have to deal with the repercussions of those things. This really does actually seem very, very interesting in terms of being a video game, in terms of being a Guardians of the Galaxy experience, and I'm excited to see what Square Enix brings to the table and what Eidos Montreal does with this experience. This is very exciting to me. I also forgot to mention that no matter who you are, if you have a modern gaming platform, you're going to be able to play this game essentially. This is going to be on the PS4, PS5, Windows PC, Xbox One, and the Series X on October 26th of this year, 2021, barring any last-minute delays. So this is very interesting. Everybody is going to be seeing this game on multiple platforms. Will that affect the quality? Will this game be held back for previous generations? I don't know. I know that's a point of contention, but I leave that up to you to decide down in the comments. This is something I definitely plan to play over on my Let's Play channel, Degenerate Plays. The link is in the description down below. When it comes out, I hope to see you there, and I hope you enjoyed this video and this quick breakdown of the news we got. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you excited for this game? Are you not? Are you upset at the choice to just play as Star-Lord, or do you think the fact that you're also directing the Guardians, makes this a Guardians game? What are your thoughts on that? I know that might be a controversial decision for some Guardians and Marvel fans. And what are your thoughts on the whole shared universe thing and stuff like that? Very, very interested to hear what you have to say. I try to answer comments and get back to a lot of you. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this. Subscribe for more content. I'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone, stay shui.